All right, welcome to MazzaMedia. It is Sunday, August the 24th, and we are live here on YouTube. It's another great day out there, beautiful weather, a lot of sunshine. Spent plenty of time out there today, and now I'm ready just to kind of relax and take it down a notch. I wasn't sure if I was able to do a show this weekend. I wanted to. I wasn't sure if I was going to do something on Friday night. Saturday was kind of not going to work for me. And then today I was like, oh, I don't even know if I'm even going to be able to do a show today either. So finally, I just found some time. I'm like, okay, I got everything done that I needed to do. And I was ready to rock and roll. I just had to make sure my shirt hopefully looked a little bit ironed out. It wasn't all wrinkly or wrinkled. And other than that, we are good. So I'm ready to go. I'm excited to be back on YouTube today. It's been a while. I think it's been probably 2 weeks. It's definitely been a long, long time. There's a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of different things pertaining to the Karen Reed case that I want to talk about today. And really, for me, the things I want to talk about the most are Michael Proctor, and I want to talk about Kelly Dever. Those are the two people I want to talk about the most today. And there's some other stories out there as well that could possibly be discussed during today's show as well. So we'll kind of take it as we go today and kind of play through it and do what we do best, which is have a good time and get the show on the road. So hope everybody's doing well today. I did some barbecuing for the next couple of days. So I got some chicken and a little bit of beef and a little bit of shrimp, all barbecued, all grilled up and all that, and ready to go. So here we are. Another day live. Let me just get one more thing. Doesn't I share my link? You got to forget to share my link. There we go. Get that done. There we go. Perfect. All right. I was going to make sure to do that. But yeah, I enjoyed grilling today and I did some yard work and then also did nice big walk. Nice big walk today, 3.5 to 5 miles. So that's kind of my spiel for today. Some other news that I might talk about today. Jaylen Brown's father was involved in a really big incident. This Greg Groom, a very sickening human being, who murdered his pregnant girlfriend or recently ex-girlfriend. And Michael Morrissey's $1 million request might be discussed as well. So we'll go ahead and talk about a few of those things. Yeah, I like to have Sunday's always been a big deal for cooking for me. It's always like the cooking day of the week. Other than that, it's usually normal eating, but on Sundays, I always get to go a little bit more to the next level and all that. So I hope you're doing well, Debbie. Marvin Hagler, not the boxer, but a fan of Marvin Hagler. Maybe that's the real Marvin Hagler. Maybe the real. He was one of my favorite boxers, the Brockton Brawler. He was really good. So, Turtle Boy's defense link is pinned to the top of your chat as well. If you want to make a donation to his defense fund, please go right ahead and do so. And that link is right there. He's got the Wilbur Theater coming up very soon. No, it wasn't Walmart shrimp. Oh, no. No radioactive shrimp. If I had radioactive shrimp from Walmart, I'd look like, was it Nuclear Man or Neutron Man from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace? I'd basically have electric bolts all over me. I'd be like, wasn't there a character in The Simpsons, Radioactive Man or something like that? There was a superhero, a supervillain in The Simpsons called that name. Dennis Sweeney's in the house. Dennis, what's going on? Hope you're having a great week. Hope you and Brenda are doing well. I know Brenda's still taking on that select board out there and holding them accountable. You guys are making great efforts and great strides in Canton. I hope the people of Canton continue to see the fruits of their labor in terms of all their activity pay off in the long run, and I believe it will. So great to see you, Dennis. Hope you're doing good. Pork line's always good. Pork line's good. Gotta love that. I don't barbecue pork too much, but usually when I do, it's tenderloin. Then I usually douse that in barbecue sauce at some point. So that's always good as well. So, all right, we'll get to our action discussions here today. This is going to be about, they should have flipped, basically, is that they should have flipped. I look at Michael Proctor, formerly a Massachusetts state police officer, now trying from the outside to fight his way back in through appeals. He, you look at what's gone on with him throughout all of this. He was not someone that was initially involved in what went on, but then he became involved, right? And then ultimately was involved in everything that went on, from text messages to other matters as well, that he really doesn't want to answer to or answer for, which is always a cause for concern when you're looking at an individual such as him. And my biggest thing with him is look where this all got him, right? It's one of those things in life where sometimes people that have a certain position of power believe that they can get away with what it is that they can believe, what they believe they can get away with, right? And that's what I think kind of has been the essence of the Karen Read cover-up, and that's going to be the Karen Read frame job and the cover-up of John O'Keefe's murder has been, this has always been my biggest concern, is that these people that were involved did what they did because they truly believed that they could get away with this. They believed that they had the pull and they had the power to get away with all of this. And that's why they did what they did. That's why they pulled all the strings that they pulled. That's why they did everything from top to bottom. We know the whole story. And as we know, they never expected Turtle Boy. They never expected all of us to start getting involved, this to become a huge thing. And then before you knew it, it was all over local news. It was all over the internet, and so forth and so on. They never expected any of this. And ultimately, not only did they expect this, they expected to get away with it. They expected Karen Read to probably take a plea deal. Oh my God, I did it. Oh my God, did I do this? You know, was it inadvertent? Oh yeah, Karen, you hit him. All that nonsense, right? And then it kind of evolves from there, which is that these people believed in what they thought they could do. But what they didn't expect was that as much power as they thought they had, they may have not have had as much of it, which meant what? It meant that, guess what? I'm going to turn my fan up just a little bit here. They thought that they could, you know, oh yeah, I'll come right in and we'll sprinkle taillight. We'll do this. We'll do that. I'll send a bunch of text messages insulting Karen and saying all this stuff, and no problem. I'm with the state police and I'm here to handle this cleanup. No problem at all. And the thing is, let's be honest here. The people above Michael Proctor believed in this cover-up and frame job just as much as he did, right? They also thought, okay, Mike, you did what you did. We know that this goes quite high up the ladder. You know, people in the state of Massachusetts have a vested interest in making sure that a murder of a Boston police officer in someone else's house never happens, right? So they want to make sure this news never hits. So let's be honest here. From top to bottom, every single player, and a lot of people think the governor. A lot of people think the governor of Massachusetts as well. For me, I definitely feel at least as high as the DA's office, but many people out there believe the governor of Massachusetts as well had a hand in this. And let's be honest with her, whether she was directly involved or indirectly involved, but if she was involved to some degree about keeping this thing a little hush-hush, well, then she had a hand in it, right? I think that could be an argument for what people think about the governor of Massachusetts. So let's look at the details here. They believe that they could do this. They all attempted to pull this. And a lot of people think, you know, a lot of anti-Karen Read people will say, they'll go, you know, and even this has been said by the McAlberts. This has been said by the McAlberts on their national interview. Well, it'd be an awful lot of people that would need to be involved in order to pull something off like this. Well, I mean, yeah, but the level of involvement, I think, would be a different argument. In other words, a lot of times they try to dismiss anyone that's free Karen Read by saying the following. Do you really think that 30 to 40 or 50 people were all directly involved in this? No, I don't. I think it was person to person to person to person, where each person did a favor. It's like an assembly line in a shop, right? Not everybody's going to assemble the whole package top to bottom. You might have one person that opens up the box, one person that seals the box, one person that puts the shipping label on it, one person that loads it on the truck, one person that puts the item in the box. You know, it's kind of like that. You know, in a roundabout way, yeah, there probably were 30 or more people involved in this. I mean, just look at the amount of people that were involved, from the Canton police to the state police, inside the house, to people that were involved in the DA's office, and possibly even higher. So yeah, there were a lot of people involved. They all just had, you know, they all had their own individual, in my opinion, roles in all of this. And that's how they participated. And that's how they contributed to all this, was basically in their own little way. And I think that they all had a level of comfort doing this. We'll all do my part, you'll do your part. That's all well and good. And then comes the point where? Well, all of a sudden, Scott McGinnis in the house. What's going on, House of Doherty? Linda, hello. Amy, hello. Lindsay, hello. And then Jess is in the house too. Let's see what Jessica said here. I had a security clearance in the military and a special forces unit. All 42 of us have government secrets we'd never say. Yeah, great point. Great point. That is for sure. And that is, that's the thing. These people are able to kind of keep their mouths quiet about all this. They're able to keep silent about all of this. And they kind of keep it cool. Jenna, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. I like the the picture there. That's good. But that's what it is. And at the end of the day, this whole thing blew up. And what happens is the people that are in power have to now say, well, we have to concede at some degree of wrongdoing, because they know that, at some point there had to have been meetings somewhere in the state or DA's office or state level or governor. I don't know, somewhere they had a meeting and they had a couple conversations and they said, look, they're on to us. They're on to us. We never expected this turtle boy gentleman here. We never expected these other folks all over the internet. You never expected all these people to be holding signs at Legacy Place. We never expected all these people. Brian, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing well, brother. We never expected all these people to start wearing pink shirts and showing up all over the place and holding signs, and all of a sudden there they are. We never expected any of this. And then it goes to the court, and you got NBC 10 or 10 Boston or whatever it is. You got other people asking as well. Now all of a sudden this thing up steam. Court team, they're here, right? Vinnie Paul and Drew, who blocked her up. I think I got blocked by her calling her out for after us. And all of a sudden this thing starts to pick up steam. It picks up a lot of steam. And they're like, oh my goodness, there's us. And this whole frame job and cover up is like the Titanic all of a sudden. Sure, it's still above water, but it's going to break in half. It's starting to go under the water, and eventually that thing's going under. And they knew this. They obviously knew this because they knew that they had to start to take action in the public eye, which was suddenly, well, Michael Proctor's text, we got to do something about this. That got out. And they had to start to clean up because they know, like these people that are in positions of power, they all know how this all works. It's like this in our government. It's like this in our society all the time. They know, they're going to always try, whether it's the government at a state or local level or national level, regardless of party, they all know that they're only going to get away with whatever they can get away with, as long as they're not exposed or if the people don't call it out. I always drink out of a red Solo cup coffee cake. Always. That's like a signature thing. And what's funny is that was never intended to be a joke. I just always drink out of a red Solo cup for like decades. And it just happened to be a thing in a Karen Reed case. So it's like, it's not even a gimmick, but a lot of people think of that, as a gimmick on my show, which is pretty funny. So I'm not switching cups, but yeah, the red Solo cup. But yeah, until they're confronted, then they're going to start to say, well, okay, well, the texts are out about what Michael Proctor said. So they cut out the middleman, right? So let's talk about Proctor. Proctor thought, in the grand scheme of things, he could use his position of power and be backed by his contemporaries or superiors and basically participate in something like this and really not reap any consequences. That's really what he thought. If he didn't think that, then he would have never done that. But he did. He believed that I can use my Massachusetts State Police power, by golly, and go out there and cover up this whole case and or participate and do whatever it is that I need to do to make sure that all the people inside the house get away with it, by golly. That's kind of the attitude. I'm obviously trying to go with a little bit of like a 1940s, 50s Superman spoof there with the by golly stuff. But, at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about, is that they did this because they believed they could do this? And they not only believe that they could do this, they believe that they could basically be backed up. These same officers didn't take this vehicle to the state police barracks. They didn't take it to any location like that. They took it to the sallyport. At the Canton Police Department, they took it to the sallyport, right? Because they didn't want it at the state police barracks because they knew that eyes would be watching. So what did they do? They took it to Canton, which was what? The location of the perpetration of the cover-up and the frame job. They knew Jason Grant's in the house. What's going on, my guy? My guy. Hope Allison's doing good too, my brother. They knew if they took it to the sallyport that they could do it there and get this whole thing covered up. And they figured, let's invert the footage. Let's start, smashing the light like they're elves at the North Pole in the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Boom, boom, boom. And they probably started singing a little song. Hi ho, hi ho. It's off to work. We go. What is that? The Seven Dwarfs that sang that song? They're like the Seven Dwarfs in the sallyport. Hi ho, hi ho. Let's crack some, whatever. They started cracking some taillight. It's obvious what they were up to. It's on footage. When you put the footage the right way in sallyport, look where they are. They're on the exact side of that vehicle that you would expect them to be on. And that's what was going on. It's clear as day what was going on here, ladies and gentlemen. We all know. You got how many people? Allison's in the house today. What's going on? Allison, love Jason, love these people. Great people. Talk about some frontlines people. A lot of frontlines folks. Dennis Sweeney, Jason Grant, Allison, Scott McGinnis, all watching the show today. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for all you guys do. The frontline work has been absolutely incredible. It's been one of the absolute pillars of everything that happened. It's just boots on the ground, people on the front lines, holding those signs, cold weather, hot weather, it doesn't matter. The folks were out there, and that changed the game. It certainly did. Cynthia Lynch, hope you're doing well too. Ask Bob what's up. So they're out there. They're chipping away at the taillight. They're sprinkling it, they're sprinkling it here and there all over the property, doing everything they can. Now, these people, no, Nurse Kim's in the house. Happy Sunday, my angel here, Mazza, and fellow MazzaManiacs. Now, Nurse Kim and Auntie Deb will be live tonight at 9 p.m. on the Glares show. So that's going to be a huge show. It's going to be a major trio right there. The Glare, Nurse Kim, and Auntie Deb. That's going to be one hell of an entertaining show tonight. And that should be a real good one, no question about it. People will be tuning in for that one. That's going to be a very entertaining show. So here they are thinking they can pull off all this stuff. Now even Michael Proctor, to his level of involvement here, this man's thinking, I'm involved. This ain't going to be no thing. I can do whatever it is that I need to do. Nothing's ever going to come of this. And that's what they all thought. And even if something did, I'm sure he probably thought that the Massachusetts State Police all had his back, that this would never come down on him, would never rain down on him whatsoever, not a chance, right? Well, that's what they thought. Let's read Scott's comment. The fix was in very early in the morning. Higgy back at Canton PD at 1:30-ish a.m. Brian Albert on the horn to all his connections. When Canton PD arrives at 6 p.m., they were on the take. So, like I said, they're all thinking that this thing's going to go by no problem. Karen Reed's going to say, "Oh my goodness, did I do this? Yeah, you did, Karen. You must have accidentally hit him. Oh my goodness." That's what they thought. They didn't think that Karen Reed would get wise to all of this and say to herself, "Hold on a minute here." She didn't think that she would hire an attorney like David Yannetti who would also say, "Hold on a minute here." They would get Alan Jackson and Liza Little. "Hold on a minute here." They never thought that this was all going to come down the way it did. And when it did, Michael Proctor's probably sitting there the whole time saying to himself, ain't no thing. Ain't no thing. My hands are clean of this. Everybody's got my back. And I think that's where, when you look at him and all of this, what were his options? What were his options? He thought, well, they're always going to have my back. I don't need to flip. And they got to a point where there was so much pressure on them, they being the Massachusetts State Police Department, that they ultimately said, well, we got to cut our ties with Proctor here. And now here he is from the outside trying to fight his way back in. Not a good situation for him, obviously, right? But, again, I would say, regardless of circumstance, he deserved what he got. Because regardless of flipping or not, he deserves what he gets because he had a hand in this. He thought he could participate in this. He said what he said on the text messages. And at the end of the day, you're dealt the cards that serve you appropriately, which is basically if you tried to frame Karen Reed, if you had a lot of negative things that were extremely inappropriate, obviously, there's no question about that. These were sickening comments that he said in these text messages. Well, at the end of the day, guess what? You're accountable for all of that. But the question is, should he have flipped And I wonder if we were talking about earlier this week, if you could ask anybody one question and they had to answer it honestly, would that be the one question maybe we might want to ask Michael Proctor is, if you could go back in time right now, and this conversation would just be between me and him privately, would you flip? Let's say like after the fact of what you did, would you flip knowing now that the Massachusetts State Police was not going to have your back to the level that you thought? And I think the thing is too, when I look at all of this, when I look at the McAlberts, when I look at the DA's office and above, really let's say it this way. How about this? The McAlberts and the Canton Police, then the DA's office and everything above that, right? Realistically, Michael Proctor is essentially the middleman, right? If you are going to cut a rope, usually it's cut, I guess sometimes in the middle, I don't know, but sometimes it's cut in the middle. So usually what you do is, let's put it this way. Let's talk about a bridge. A lot of times in World War II, my grandfather used to do this as well. They'd go on night missions and blow up bridges that would stop the enemy from crossing over and doing what they needed to do, right? So they'd go out and blow up the bridge. The bridge represents what? The bridge is the middleman. The bridge represents one side and the other side. And the only way to get from one side to the other is over the bridge. But if the bridge is gone, well, then you've cut out the middleman. And I think that's kind of what's happened to Michael Proctor here is we all agree. Regardless of Proctor's level of involvement, there's no question people below him were involved. There's no question that people above him were involved, right? But at the end of the day, Michael Proctor is essentially the middleman. He would essentially be the bridge between everything at a lower level and everything at a higher level. And basically what I'm suggesting is it looks like the powers that be essentially took the bridge out and said, let's take him out. That way he looks not just more responsible, but I would say try to create the image in the public eye. And obviously none of us are fooled by this, but try to create an image where almost like, yeah, boy, he's a real bad apple. And yeah, it was all him. It was, Michael Proctor. Yeah, it was obviously, we had to get rid of him because, none of us had anything to do with this. It's Proctor. It's Proctor. And I think that's kind of where this kind of went because, Morrissey, Mr. If I had $1 million, they had him. Yeah, we should put Mike's defense link in there. I didn't think to that, but yeah, we should put Mike's defense link. If you folks want to drop his defense link on the comment section every now and then, please feel free to do so. Let's help out Mike, no question as well. Thank you, Carol Ann, for your suggestion. But yeah, these people are like, well, this is getting a little too hot here. We want to get Proctor out of here so we can say, hey, he did it. It was him. It wasn't me. It wasn't Michael Morrissey. It wasn't anybody in our office. It's not the governor's office. No. It's not the state police. It's Michael Proctor. That's kind of the attitude. Exactly. I am absolutely unplugged today. But that's kind of along the lines of what they did because they knew that they got caught to a very high degree, and they tried to, in the public's perception, say like, see, we still have credibility here. We still have credibility here, but we got rid of Proctor because of those texts. We're like you guys. We don't agree with these texts. We're just as disgusted as you are. We got rid of them. And you have to wonder with all of that. Mike's Defense Fund is here. Turtle Boy's Defense Fund is also pinned at the top of the chat. I wish I could pin more than one comment. But yeah, that's exactly what they thought. Let's cut that middleman out. And Michael Proctor, in that analogy, he is the bridge. He is the middle of everything before him and everything that comes after him. And the state police are above him. DA's office is above him. Governor's office is above him. Canton police are below him. McAlberts are below him. Cut out the middleman. Gone. That's it. That's the whole game. And that, to me, appears to be exactly what was done here. Now, like I said, I don't disagree with Proctor getting fired. I'm like all of you guys. I can sing a little bit. If I had $1 million. Yeah, I can sing. I can sing a little bit. Singing's a little bit of my underrated talent. I never believed I could sing, but then I found out people would tell me you can actually sing a little bit, Maz. Not always, but sometimes. Kelly Reed is in the house, the great cousin of Karen Reed, right there. Who knew he could cook and sing? Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, barbecuing is what I do on Sundays. I'm gonna barbecue while I can before it gets cold because fall's coming very quickly. But yeah, cut the middleman out. Cut the middleman out. Anytime I do karaoke, I just channel Bill Murray, the lounge singer on Saturday Night Live. I always do that. Bill Murray, all the way. That's my guy. That's my favorite comedian of all time, Bill Murray. There we go. But yeah, that was their whole game. Cut out the middleman. Now that gets to the point where you look at, there we go, Rant on a Sunday. You got it. Jersey Jen, thank you so much. I haven't been in New Jersey in a while, but I got a lot of friends over there in northern Jersey. So thank you so much for your super chat. Do appreciate it. But yes, so you look at Michael Proctor now, and again, he thought he could do whatever he wanted. He thought he could just do whatever he wanted and do whatever needed to be done, and they'd always have his back. And, you know, to some degree, the Massachusetts State Police had all their backs. But a lot of these guys in the state police, they've been rehomed. They've been taken and sent to other counties, other districts, whatever you want to call it. They have been rehomed because the state police had to basically do a public relations job now because they got Bill Murray is amazing. And What About Bob? What About Bob? Ghostbusters, Caddyshack, Ghostbusters 2, Scrooged. What About Bob? Groundhog Day, and Lost in Translation. Oh, you know what? The Royal Tenenbaums. He was great in the Royal Tenenbaums as well. And Rushmore, he was pretty solid in as well. This is some great Bill Murray movies. No question about that whatsoever. The Life Aquatic, whatever that was there, where he's like Jacques Cousteau. That movie is really good. Steve Zissou, I think it is. That's a great movie as well. The great Bill Murray, my guy, no question about it. But yeah, they at some point said, look, let's cut the middleman out. And you look at Proctor now, what's that like for him? Gee, they did me dirty. I was just playing along like everybody else. They're just, he's probably sitting there thinking, well, they had a hand in this, and other people had a hand in this. Why me? Why do I got to go down? Why do they got to cut me out? Why do I got to lose my job? What the hell? I'm sure he probably thought something like that. I'm sure he did. Dr. Leo Marvin. Dr. Leo Marvin trying to wake up Bill Murray was one of the funniest scenes that I've ever seen in my life. Bob, cock-a-doodle-doo. He doesn't wake up at all till that alarm goes off. Funniest stuff. That's a classic movie. Lake Winnipesaukee. Great comedy. All-time great movie. Oh my God. I'm a schizophrenic, but so am I. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I. I think that's the joke that he tells when he's taken to the mental facility. I could talk about that movie all day. Guys, don't get me started on What About Bob. It is a staple. It's the ultimate, end of summer movie, too. It absolutely is. Cock-a-doodle-doo, Bob. Oh, man. I'm so focused on that movie right now. It's such a great movie. Yeah, I'm sailing. I sail. When he leaves the explosives in the house, Bob, what did you do with the things you had around your neck? The people that wanted the house and the mother, she always, Dr. Leo Marvin, son of a bitch. They're cheering when the house gets blown up. Oh, that is so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Great comedy movie. Richard Dreyfuss was incredible in that movie. All the actors, the kid that was in that movie, he was in the movie Hook. He was good in that movie. What was his name? Ziggy or whatever his name was. He was a riot. And, great movie. Oh, I'm way off topic now. Once we get talking about that movie, it's when he's eating the corn. Yeah, he's eating the corn, and he's like, would you please stop that? Give me. I need. Great movie. Awesome movie. Yeah. What was I see assault. Is there assault substitute? Leo, did you want the breast? All great lines in that movie. Totally hilarious movie. No question about it. So Proctor, getting back to Proctor, this guy thinks that everybody's just going to have his back. Now all of a sudden he's realizing, guess what? Everybody had it. He knows very well. He won't say it publicly, right? But he knows that everybody else above him and below him, their hands were busy as well, right? Their hands were busy in all of this just as much as he was. Now he's saying to himself, why do I got to be the guy to take the fall? Because they cut out the middleman. That's basically what they did. Cut the middleman out, and that should hopefully ease the it's like a long cable, right? It's tense when it's held by both ends, but if you cut the middle, the tension starts to release. And I think that's what they kind of thought when they got rid of Proctor. Let's cut the middle. Let's cut the tension. It may not fully get rid of the problem, but it will at least ease the tension for those people on the lower end and those people on the higher end. Now, of course, all of us that are free Karen Read, that are invested in all of this, that follow this stuff, know damn well we're not going to fall for that. But in the public eye, the people that moderately or mildly pay any attention to this kind of stuff, they kind of tend to forget over time, don't they? And that's what they kind of want to do. They want people to forget. And I think that's the number one thing that happens in society as well, is they try to prey on people's memories, because a lot of times people forget with time, right? Time goes by, you tend to forget. And I think that's what all the powers that be want. They want us to kind of just forget about things, move on to other things, not continue to talk about the Karen Read case or other matters that are going on in this state, that hopefully it will all just magically dissipate from our minds and the conscience of the state of Massachusetts, and they can just kind of move on without any level of accountability, because they cut the tension when they cut Michael Proctor. They cut the tension when they moved other people to, basically rehome them. That's kind of, to me, what the game plan's been from the DA's office in that entire level. That's been exactly what I think that they've been trying to do for quite some time. And I think that that's their game plan. Step by step, inch by inch. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. Three Stooges reference, if you've ever seen the Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. If you remember the Three Stooges, you'll remember that quote. So they think, it's been a while since I've been on. I've been so caught up in the summer. I didn't even know if I was even going to do the show this weekend. I'm sitting there all day. I'm like, am I even going to be able to do a Sunday show now? Maybe I do Friday. Saturday's out. Sunday possibly. Don't know. But I was able to do a show today, so I'm thankful for that. Definitely happy about all that. So back to Proctor. Having him seen all this now, having him know other people got dirt on their hands, he's watching himself be the one that's thrown out the door like Fred Flintstone by Dino the dinosaur and trying to get back in the house, right? That's the situation he's in. So you have to wonder, if he could do it all over again after his initial involvement and what level of involvement he had, would he do what he did again and instead maybe flip this time? Would he flip? Would he possibly flip? I don't know. Would he do that? I wonder if he would, but something tells me he probably would. But the thing is, though, we always have to understand here, what are the repercussions of flipping? If he didn't, he probably didn't flip early on because he always felt like the Massachusetts State Police would have his back, right? Back the blue, not back the blue wall of silence. They all thought that. Mike Tepper's Teeper's here. What's going on? Hope you're doing. Adam Tepper. Sorry about that. Got your name totally wrong. Sorry about that, Adam. I saw this pop up, Mike, and I just said Mike. Mike's defense. That kind of stuff. But yeah, you wonder. Someone says, no flipping, he has no guts. Well, you wonder. And Turtle Boy's Defense Fund is pinned at the top of the chat. But you wonder, is that something that he would have done in retrospect? But if so, what are the repercussions for him? I don't know. I don't know what the repercussions are for flipping in the state of Massachusetts. When you're a state police officer or even a Canton Police Department officer, right? What are the repercussions? What happens when you flip on your brothers and sisters? Because I think the number one thing that would have held him back, dirt on his hands. Because no matter what happens, if he did flip, there's dirt on his hands. But now knowing that he's eventually obviously in hot water anyways, would flipping now not be such a big risk now in retrospect? I wonder if he just should have flipped while he had the opportunity. I truly do. I thank everybody for tuning in today. It is a wonderful Sunday evening. 9 o'clock tonight, The Glare with Nurse Kim and Auntie Deb. I believe that's the only other show on tonight. Not sure. But that will be 9 o'clock tonight. Still plenty of time to get ready for that big show tonight. That will be a good one. I'll be tuning in for that. No question about it. Turtle Boy is going to be at the Wilbur Theater coming up in September. Auntie Deb will be hosting that. It will be Auntie Deb versus Turtle Boy in the Wilbur Theater in Boston. That event is still on despite the efforts of Surviving the Survivors host trying to shut that down, which failed. But yes, that will be a big show coming up as well. Cynthia Lynch says, good to see you, Mazza. I'm sailing. We're all sailing. You make sure to have your life preserver on, and you should be good. Thank you for the super chat, Cynthia. I appreciate it. Kelly Reed says, the glare, Nurse Kim and Jimmy will be great. Of course, Kelly Reed once made a music video with Jimmy. I believe a few other people were involved in that as well, which was really funny. So that was an enjoyable video. I believe that was last summer now in retrospect. Definitely some time ago. So good stuff there. Turtle Boy's Defense Fund is pinned. People are posting the defense fund for Mike Crawford as well. Mike Crawford's got a lot of things to defend himself against as well. So we want to help Mike Crawford. We want to help out the Turtle Boy as well in his ongoing case. Just one moment, folks. Okay. All right. So yes, so we want to help them out, and then a great big show coming up at the Wilbur. And I think there's plenty of seats. I think it's like 30%, 25, 30% of the seats are still available there. I think all the close seats are already taken up. So we'll see. That should be a sellout anyways. Kelly goes, I made some great popcorn videos, which is why I never lost in popcorn sales. Well, that and your very helpful promotions. Well, I would argue. Canton Chronicles on at 7 o'clock tonight, Dennis says. Kelly Reed says, well, I think the Reed last name, Kelly, come on. You had the Reed last name. You had the favorable last name, Kelly. Come on. No, it's good. But you did a great job, Kelly. And cousin of the year for about 3 years in a row now. I think you're worthy of that. That's for sure. So you did a great job, Kelly. And we love you. We miss you as well. It's been a long time since we've all seen you, but hey, what a way to go out. Karen Reed acquitted. Reed family's been able to enjoy July and August. Which has been great. And that's fantastic news. And that's what it's all about. Nick Rocco said that on Twitter. Somebody called him out on Twitter, and he kind of made the comment, my goal was to help Karen Reed, was to raise money for her and help her from being railroaded, and mission accomplished. And I think we're all very happy with the way the summer's gone. It's been a great summer to celebrate all of that. But at the same time, we all know there's some fights to be fought here, civil suits. At least one coming Karen's way, and we hope and anticipate. And I know, Kelly, you don't want to comment. We're not asking you to comment. You don't have to comment. But I'm more than sure Karen's going to, file some civil suits of her own and take some action in a very big way in the weeks, months, and years to come. So we'll root on Karen and root for the best there. And we know that Alan Jackson, Liza Little, back on board, which is huge. That's going to be great news. Kelly says it's been an amazing summer. I agree. It's been great. It absolutely has. There was a lot of tension last summer, and it was like, oh boy, another case coming up. And we all thought it was going to be January. Then it ended up being this past spring. So we won, we prevailed. And Turtle Boy, he's still battling his case right now as well. So we're hoping to support him and his efforts against all the injustice that's coming his way. He was the first person outside of the Reed camp to really voice their opinion in a big way to get eyes on this. And that was huge for him. So we're going to support Aiden as well. Alan Jackson on Howie Carr Thursday at 2:30. That's going to be a huge show right there. I'm looking forward to him saying some things about the judge. I love his candidness and all of that. That has been absolutely fantastic. No question about it. I've absolutely enjoyed what he's had to say. And it's great to see the attorneys have that freedom to be a little bit more free with what they have to say now. That's one thing I'm very, very happy about, is kind of getting to hear the behind the scenes chatter. David Yannetti, and Robert Alessi have obviously been on a lot of shows. This week, Yannetti was on Nurse Kim's show. He was on Defense Diaries. So it's great to kind of see them kind of get out there and tell you the behind the scenes. It's kind of like the making of the movie type deal. But it was great. It was a great run. It was an extraordinary effort. I can imagine that defense team and the entire Reed family did not want to go through this thing a third time. But Yannetti kind of said what me and a lot of other people felt as well, that they were going to try to force this thing into a third trial and try to force Karen down that hill or up that hill one more time with at least a third trial, which was definitely concerning for a lot of us, that they were going to attempt to do that. And I'm not for a second in any way, shape, or form ever doubting that they would have done that if they had the opportunity to do so, which was absolutely, it was definitely something they were trying to do. I just felt that the whole time, like, they're going to try to force a third trial. I'm telling you, they're going to try to do that. Be on high alert. No question about it. I definitely thought that was something that they were going to try to do. And, you look at the way the judge looked at that verdict slip like that. She wasn't enthusiastic at all. This is a judge, and I'm going to criticize her. The hell with it. I'll criticize her all I want. That judge has a vested interest in the outcome of a trial. You're a judge. You're supposed to be impartial. You're not supposed to take a side in all of this. This judge was basically, allowing the prosecution to object as much as they wanted, and then when the defense objected, overruled, just constantly that nonsense all through this trial. And that judge was basically the gatekeeper for the DA's office. There's no question about it. People out there will try to tell us, no, you're wrong. You're just imagining what you think about this judge. Well, look at Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson has not been able to speak freely about this judge ever. Now he can. Maybe we will call her Drudge, dreaded judge. Now he can. Now he can go on Howie Carr and say, you know what? This judge was against us. How many times were our objections overruled compared to the prosecution? Well, I'll allow that. Mr. Lally asked it a different way. Mr. Brennan asked that a different way. Unbelievable. It makes me absolutely sick. 1 minute. Sorry. My nose is itching like crazy. I apologize. I don't want to keep itching my nose on camera. Oh, my goodness. I apologize, folks. But yeah, this has been an absolute issue for the longest time, and that was, and God forbid, it was already exasperating enough to listen to that judge overrule that, run that courtroom the way she did. Now, rumors were flying around in between trials, especially earlier this year, that this judge was not going to be overseeing the second trial. Then all of a sudden, guess what? Judge Cannoni is back, and she's presiding over this thing again. And you can only imagine that she would have seen this thing over a third time if that was the case. Now, I believe she's been relocated somewhere now. I guess she's some other district, Cape Cod or something. I don't know. Something I read a couple of weeks ago. Someone can fill me in, I'm sure. But now all of a sudden, if she had been moving on to another location, I guarantee you she would still be overseeing that third trial if that came to it. That was my big concern. And you look at the Reed family, what they had to endure. It's bad enough having the sympathy for Karen Reed or her brother or Kelly, who's tuning in today. It was always more than enough sympathy that we had. But her parents too. Her parents are retired. They're trying to enjoy, what we call the golden years of life. And I remember my grandparents, all four of them, just did whatever they wanted, relaxed, didn't have to worry about their daughter or daughters going to jail, didn't have to go to a courthouse day after day after day. My grandfather could just go down to the VFW. My grandmother could pack her car with 4 other elderly women and go down to Mohegan Sun or Foxwoods and gamble. So that's what my grandmother did. Sorry, Grammy. I gave away your secret on the air, but that's what you did. That's what you did. You went to the casinos a lot, but we love you. But sorry, I'm sorry. She'd be so pissed if I said that and she was alive still. Oh my God. But yeah, she my grandmother liked to gamble. She liked to go down there, her and her girls, all with their hair curls, going down to the casinos all the time. My grandfather, hanging around with his war buddies at the VFW, drinking beer, having a good time, talking war stories, talking football. That's what people in their golden years should be able to do. That's what they should be able to do. Okay? They should be able to enjoy their lives and do with, after you're 65 or whatever, you should, in life, you should just get, life should just give you whatever you want after 65. Okay, you made it through 65 years. Here's $1 million. Enjoy the rest of your life. That's the way life should be in a fair world. 65 years old, here's $1 million. Have fun, relax. Enjoy the rest of your life. That's the way life should be. It's not that way. Unfortunately, people have to work till 80 now. But, for Karen Reed's parents, I'm glad they don't have to go through this anymore. And they did a great job. The parents held themselves very well. Bill and Janet were fantastic throughout all of this. They were strong. And I'm sure behind the scenes, they had those times where they were exasperated and mentally just like, I don't know how much more of this I could take. I know I was. I know we all were. It's like I remember saying on the show, I don't know how much more of this I can cover. I still do it. but like watching this go on in live time. It's kind of nicer now. Just talk about this stuff more casually now that the trials are over. But it was kind of difficult to have this like as an absolute, there's going to be a second trial, all the time. But I'm happy for Bill and Janet. They can relax now. I'm hoping that they just had the most wonderful July and August ever, or at least the best July and August of the last couple of years for their lives. I hope so. Same thing for Karen and the entire Reed family. I hope that they enjoyed it. I hope that they had cotton candy. Cotton candy is amazing during the summer. And I hope they just had a great time at the lake, the beach, whether it was Cape Cod or Maine or whatever place people vacation, Southern Rhode Island, Musquamaket, wherever. I hope they went to some nice beach resorts or whatever, did something like that, and just had a great time. And thank you, Kelly, for your comments as well. Kelly said, we were strengthened by all of you. Yes, thank you. Everybody here played a part, and it was amazing. And I'm sure that the Reed family will never forget all the pink shirts out there. And when the final verdict was read, and I love seeing everybody's reaction inside the courtroom that was hoping Karen Reed would go down for that when everybody was just cheering outside at the verdicts. It was an amazing moment. It was a great summer for that. And it's awesome. But I'm happy for the Reeds. I'm happy for her parents. Her parents definitely were the ultimate parents. And, I'm sure all of us, parents or anybody else's parents, you hope that your parents would be there the way Karen's parents were there for her. And it was nerve-wracking. It definitely was nerve-wracking, but I believe in my mind, heart, body, and soul that Karen Reed would never go to jail, would never serve a minute of jail time or prison time. And we were right. And anti-Karen Reed was wrong. They were so very wrong. They thought that Karen Reed was going to go to jail. They thought that she was so guilty, so very, very guilty. And they were so wrong about that the whole time. We always knew that she was innocent. We always knew that she was not guilty of this. And at the end of the day, we were right, and anti-Karen Reed was wrong. So, like I said, I wonder if Michael Proctor would flip in retrospect if he could. So let's take a look. We did some polling recently on my X page. I forgot what page this even was. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what we got. Sharing screens here. All right, let's share this screen. All right, let's see how this looks on camera for you guys. All right, we'll move my face down to the lower left. I get a shave at some point. I'm kind of in like that summer bum mode right now where it's like I don't want to shave right now for a couple of days. I'm just like, let this thing grow out. I don't really like having a beard because it's too itchy, but I'm kind of in that mode where I don't feel like shaving this week, so I'm not gonna do it. All right, so here we go. All right, so we got this here. We ran a poll. If you could ask anyone a hard-hitting question, who would it be? Now, for me, I would actually say Michael Proctor because I want to know if he would have flipped, if he could go back and do this all over again. But if you look at the top dogs in this poll, Judge Beverly Cannoni, 43.4%, and It's Electric, Higgy, is in second place with 41.1%. He's got that second place. So I probably should have added in this poll question, just filling my water here. Jedi Jen, what's going on? Nice name. I probably should have asked, I probably should have added that they would have to answer the question truthfully that you ask. So basically, what you have to ask one question of one person, they have to answer it truthfully. So Bev and Higgins was split. And I can imagine, I mean, there's a lot of value to asking Higgins a question. There's a lot of value in asking him a question. What were you doing on Cape Cod? Did you happen to hit and kill anyone by any chance? Just questions like that, I think would be the big questions. I think for Judge Bev, I think my question would probably be to her, are you truly biased, Bev? Are you truly helping obviously probably a question I already believe I know the answer to, but I'd ask that question, I think, of her. And then other was there, and people said, I think Tully came up in this. Someone, Dave says, it's a great question. I'd love to know why Bev was so hostile to the defense. Higgins, someone said, Higgins, who were the two girls that the tall, dark-haired man was talking to when you witnessed this? From which part of the house? Boom. Would I get a hard hitting answer? I think there's a pun there. Brian Tully. I would ask Michael Proctor why Julie Albert wanted to buy him a gift. Great question. Someone goes, if we ask, we'll get hit with the witness intimidation charges. Well, this will be in a world where you don't get witness intimidation charges. Higgins question, what was in the large duffel bag and where is it? Those are some other questions that come up. Let's see if anybody else. Someone said, assuming that he'd answer truthfully, Higgins. Yes, this is basically a nice little footnote here, the honesty portion of it. So, yeah, I think, who would you guys ask, do you think, if you guys could ask a question? Who would you guys ask? And you can ask anybody. Yeah, whose pocket are you in, Your Honor? Yeah. I just can't get over Michael Morrissey asking for $1 million for the second trial. That shows me right then and there that we definitely were impacting this thing a lot more than we realized. That our money that we were donating, that all the fundraisers we did on this show and many others, were having a much bigger impact than we could have ever possibly imagined. There's no question about it. I mean, we raised a ton of money, and this guy, Michael Morrissey's like, please give me $1 million, please. If you can find it in your heart to give money to me, please. He was kind of like that. He was kind of like that a little bit. And it was a little bit ridiculous, quite honestly. And no question about it. No question about it at all. Give me $1 million. I can't believe that they needed $1 million. Now, I always thought they were well more funded than this. I thought they could have ran this thing for like 6 or 7 different trials and just kept pulling taxpayer money without having to actually ask somebody for $1 million. But the fact that they needed $1 million to try this thing a second time shows you how much those defense funds were really helping us, helping Karen out and taking on the powers that be. And it goes to show you how much money you need to raise just to take on the powers that be from basically trying to take you down. It's absolutely wild stuff. It truly is. It truly is. All right, here we go. All right, you get to invite one of Karen Reed's attorneys to your cookout. Who is your choice? This poll was going back and forth for hours. At one point, Alan Jackson was like deep in third place, really deep there. But David Yannetti, by a pinch of salt, is the favorite here. Most people would want to have David Yannetti over to their cookout. So basically, you're having a cookout. It's Saturday or Sunday. You get to have one of Karen Reed's attorneys over the house. Who's your pick? David Yannetti, 32.4%. Just behind him with 0.8%. Alan Jackson, 31.6%. Robert Alessi, what? And what? But Robert Alessi, 24.7%. And Liza Little, come on, guys, 11.3% for Liza Little. Now, I would probably say, Liza Little's the only attorney that I've never talked to before. I looked at her, but I never had the chance to talk to her and say hello. I always said hello to her, I think, but I never talked with her other than, I've talked to Jackson a bit, Yannetti briefly. I probably talked to Alan Jackson the most of all of them. But Alessi I talked to briefly one time, which was cool. Which was great. It was great to kind of talk to them briefly. They're great people. They are. They truly were. And Liza Little is the only one I haven't. Maybe I'll invite Liza to the cookout because I've never really talked to her. I think I'm going to invite Liza Little to my cookout, and she can hang out. And I'll barbecue whatever she wants. Whatever her favorite food is, I will barbecue that. That sounds good. Liza Little is great. And Liza Little has done such a great job. Obviously, not always vocal in the courtroom. Vocal when she needs to be, but I think she did so much behind the scenes work and preparation that I think if we saw how much she did, we'd be shocked. Kelly says, I had many meals with all of them and they'd all be fabulous guests. They are each phenomenal humans. I agree. Absolutely agree. And one thing I always wonder, is it Liza with an E when we say Liza, or is it Liza with an E? That's one thing I wonder. Allison, one of my favorite people, her and Jason for sure. I love everybody. What am I talking about? I love everybody. And Allison did a great job with the photography that she did. She always had great action photos of every day outside the courthouse, which was phenomenal. So Allison, you did a great job. Awesome, awesome job. All right, so yeah, I'm thinking Eliza Little just because I've talked to her the least. I haven't talked to her at all, really. So I think I'm going to pick Eliza Little as my choice. But I think they'd all be great guests. And one of the biggest complaint I got in the chat was people were saying, I think they were saying like, "Oh, this is too tough. I want all 4 of them." Someone said, "This is hard, LOL. I want them all." And I said, "Everybody gets one." That's a Family Guy episode where Spider-Man had a little cameo. Everybody gets one. You get one attorney. That's it. Tough choice. Auntie Bev's side bar and grill says Alessi because he's so well-rounded and his stories would be cathartic, educational, and enjoyable. Jenny Cochran's a great woman. She has Robert Alessi in her photo, and she says, obviously, it's going to be my guy, Bob Alessi. Obviously, a choice for David Yannetti there. Valerie says, definitely Bob Alessi for a cookout. Agent O'Donnell says, looks as though you need a tiebreaker around, but she says Yannetti 100%. And let's see, tough choice. Someone says, Alan, because I had a dream I was at lunch at his house and he had the best red wine. I'd invite them all. Someone says, I'm inviting Liza. There's so much to hear from this quiet powerhouse. Great point. Mad loves them all. Alan, because I've seen the videos of him cooking, so I guess he's going to take care of all the barbecuing then. I guess he'll take care of all the barbecuing then. He's a great cook as well. Me and Alan Jackson need to have a cook-off. I think it's come down to the time in life where me and Alan Jackson need to go head-to-head in a big cook-off. We're going to find out who the superior cook is between us. And I don't care if I lose. If I lose, that's fine. Don't care. Boom. I like Alessi and Yannetti, but their interviews are part love fest and part avoiding. I'm not going to say that. There's only so much they can say. That's okay. We'll leave her alone. Liza, I stand a strong, brilliant, delightful woman. Someone goes, I answered Alessi because I believe he is a distant cousin from Italy. Interesting. Someone says, literally an existential question. Read this and literally had a rush of anxiety and thought, but what if the others get mad? That's all right. We only get to pick one. We'll just think of it in a world where all of them get to go to a cookout, but you get to pick which one goes to your cookout. Someone goes, sorry, but I can't choose. I'd want all of them there. Someone goes, is it a pool party? It's always a pool party during the summer. If you have a pool, your cookout's a pool party too. So hard to choose. I feel like Jeffrey and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Don't make me choose. All right, serving up a bowl of spaghetti. Someone said David Yannetti. No possible way I'd choose. I would need all 4 of them there. I don't want to choose. I want them all. Definitely Alessi, our favorite, Yannetti. Another person says, nope, can't pick one. I think someone's making a pass at Alan Jackson afterwards to stay after the barbecue. We won't get into that. Someone goes, Jackson because he cooks. This lady here, Maria, has a crush on Mr. Jackson. All right. Someone goes, pick one. One? You are cruel. But hey, one is better than none, right? We get to pick one instead of one. How do you pick? Laughing my ass off. It's like saying, which kid do you love the most? LMAO again. A lot of people can't choose. No way I'd be able to choose. Yannetti, impossible. Stop it. It needs to stop. Stop. Miss Little, of course, and I'll inform her. Impossible choice. Yannetti. Jackson because he's fiery. Well, I guess he would light the barbecue off his intensity alone, I guess. Bob Alessi, another Alessi. All of them and roast them. I think this is actually them. This might actually be a anti-Karen Reed troll. Okay, that's a troll. Occasionally we do get trolls. Occasionally we do. That happens. All right, we got some more polls. Let's see what else we got. The next question's a Bettero question. All right, Bettero question. All right, you get to hang out with Mark Bettero for the day. What's the activity? All right, so you got Celtics game, Patriots game, Breaking Bad marathon, or other. And other was actually very popular here. So Breaking Bad marathon's the runaway favorite here, 35.4%. Now, over, let's say just under 50% of the people would go to a sports game with Bettero, and Celtics game and Patriots game was really where it kind of got a little divided here. Celtics game was 26.8%. Patriots game was 18.1%. All right, take care. I got my workout in earlier today, Kelly. So have a good night. Have a wonderful week as well. Take care of yourself. You're the best, Kelly. All right. Breaking Bad marathon. Yeah, I don't know if Mark Bettero wants to go to the Giants with you unless the Patriots, just like they were this past week, unless the Patriots are in town. So you might have to wait to get Bettero into the old Meadowlands Stadium there. What's it called? I forget what the name of the stadium is in New York now. MetLife Stadium. So you might have to wait for Patriots to come there to hang out with Bettero. So yeah, I think it would be Celtics game for me. I love the Patriots too, but I think just because me and Bettero have talked the most about the Celtics, I think the Celtics game would be the choice. The Patriots game, it'd definitely be a sports game for me. But a lot of people said other, 19.7%. Now, other finished in third place, which was huge. So we got to take a look at what people said here. And Mike from the Young Jerk says immediately, Mike, Mr. North Shore himself, could not help himself. He immediately says Kowloon, the Kowloon. And he actually, Mike and Mark did go to the Kowloons last year together, which was great. That was a good time. We ate so much that day. It was utterly fantastic. The 3 M's, ladies and gentlemen. So Kowloons, and then a lot of people said Kowloon here. Kowloons, dinner at a steakhouse, Bruins game and Kowloon. Michelle, you can't have both. Can't have both. It's one or the other. Sox game, court. Someone said court. They would go to court with Bettero to watch him in action. Kowloons comes up again. Kowloons again. So Kowloon came up quite a bit. That was the runaway in this poll. That is for sure. But I Kowloon for sure. But I got to say Celtics game. Celtics game is my pick. Is Mike in the house? Oh, there he is. Oh, Mike's actually here. Mike is here. Mike said, we're just talking about you, my man. Mike from the Young Jerks is in the house. Jeno, can we get Mike's defense fund in the chat again for Mike there? We've been putting that in the chat every so often to help out our guy, Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks. He's taking on a lot of people right now. A lot of people are after him. And Mike's just trying to battle his way through this thing and be done with it. So we're getting there for Mike here. So Mike's defense link is there. You guys can make a donation. That would be helpful. Any donation is helpful, obviously. That would be fantastic if we could help him out. And then, that should be good. You got it, Mike. You got it, man. You're good to go. We always got your back. We're always going to help you out and make sure you're kind of, aided with the funds that you need and backed up. And was help. Mike, as you know, I gave a donation to you recently as well. I just want to help you out, man, any way I possibly can too. You are welcome. Mike Crawford, the Young Jerks. His defense link is in the chat. Turtle Boy's defense link is also in the chat as well. And Mike answered he would go to Kowloon with Bettero, which he has done, which is a true story. So it would be a second trip to Kowloon for Mike and the Young Jerks if you get to hang with Bettero one more time at least, which would be fantastic. All right, let's take a look. All right, what do we got here? Which free Karen Reed content creator would you most like to see face a member of Anti-Karen Reed in an organized boxing, wrestling, or martial arts match? Will the Glare. Will the Glare is running to the end zone with the football on this one. 42.5% want to see Will take on somebody of Anti-Karen Reed in an organized, competitive boxing, wrestling, or martial arts match. Second place, Aiden Turtle Boy, 32.8%. People want to see Prison Turtle come back out and basically get in the brawl, wearing the purple bandana and start duking it out. And then we got Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks, the wrestling legend himself from the North Shore. Mike Crawford, 15.2%. That would be great. I would have to say, like, let's talk about matchups. Before we talk about let's talk about the matchups. I would say Mike versus, and Mike, you don't have to comment. I'm saying I want to see Mike versus Grant Smith Ellis in a wrestling match. And then the Galera versus who? Plevin? The Galera versus Plevin, maybe? And then I'm thinking, how about Aiden versus, McAlbert or someone that someone that was involved in his arrest, maybe would be the matchup, possibly. Either McAlbert or maybe someone that's in the that arrested him. Yeah, I know he can't right now. This is all hypothetical. This is all hypothetical. This is all fantasy. This is all fantasy and fictional. But this is all fantasy and fictional. We're just having a good time here. Grant wouldn't be allowed. They wouldn't sanction it. That's funny. Yeah, because it has to be sanctioned. So it has to be rules. It has to be regulated. It has to be, and this is never going to happen. It's all regulated. So it has to be by the rules. It has to be, it has to be controlled environment. This is all fantasy booking too. This is not actually going to happen. We're not actually calling for this to actually happen. We're just saying hypothetically, if there was a fictional card, if there was a fictional fight card, what would be the matchups that we'd want to see in a fictional world? But I don't know. But that would be funny. It'd be funny if we had a video game where we could just create all the characters and just create all the fictional matches and let them play out in computerized matchups. Like, here we go. Here's a computerized matchup. That would be funny as hell. But yeah. Other came up as well. Will said to me, he goes, I can't, he goes, right now I only have a cane. So I said, all right, fine. You only have a cane. He still needs to enable himself to walk again, which would be good. So we're hoping for the best for Will and his walking ability. So, what else we got? What else we got to talk about here? You got anything else? When's Aiden's next case coming up? Is that this week? Isn't there one coming up? I know it's September, end of September, something's coming up, but isn't there another court date coming up like this week or next week for him? Not sure. We didn't talk about was Kelly Dever flipping. We didn't talk about that. Kelly Dever, I was talking about this earlier in the week. Kelly Dever, a lot of people want to see her flip, and I'd love to see her flip too. But the question is now, is perjury. She's in a perjury situation where if she decided to say, you know what, screw this, I'm just going to flip, there'd be all kinds of consequences for that now. So it's one of those situations where, it basically have to be almost like a situation where the feds were talking to her. Then the feds granted her immunity and just said, hey, we're going to grant you. And I think that's the only realistic situation. September 24th for Aiden. Yeah. I think the only time she'd ever flip, or even Proctor would flip, is if they got some kind of immunity deal from the feds, where they were able to say, okay, we want you to flip, but it's going to be, with the deal with the feds, basically. I think that's the only way it ever happens. I think that's the only way that would ever happen. I think that's the only way they'd ever do it. I just can't see them one day just saying, we're just going to flip now, considering all the consequences Proctor and Dever would have to face if they did. So I think, quite honestly, they would have to do it in a means where it would have to be a federal situation where the feds were still investigating this. The feds were going to give them a deal, and they said, hey, look, if you flip, we'll give you immunity. You won't perjure yourself. There'd have to be probably a deal like that, I'd imagine, because I can't imagine them doing it any other way. It's one of these situations where whatever your story is, you got to stick to it, and that's the bottom line. There's no other way out of it. And at this point, people said to me all week, Mazza, if she flips, she's going to perjure herself and she's going to be in big trouble. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. And that's definitely facts. Definitely facts for sure. So I would like to see these people flip. I would, but again, I don't know if it's going to be practical for them. Once you start to go on court and, are you willing? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. It's, that's it. That's it. You're saying things on stand. You say anything other than that now, it's perjury. It's a bad situation to be in. So those are my thoughts on that. But I'd like to see some of these people flip, but I don't know if they're ever going to. I don't think they're ever going to. And again, it would have to be an FBI situation, I think, where they did. So that's my show, guys. Hour and 10-minute show on a Sunday. I'm going to get going. I'm going to relax a little bit before I got to get back to the work week. Enjoy the rest of my weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I deeply appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please donate to Mike's Defense Fund, Mike Crawford of the Young Jerks. Please donate to Aiden Carney's Defense Fund of Turtle Boy. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I'll be back again live soon. So for MazzaMedia, I am Mark. Thank you guys. Jeno, thank you. Thank you everybody that tuned in tonight. Please be sure to subscribe, like this video, and you guys are the best. Take care of yourselves. All right. Have a good one. Canton Chronicles on now, I'm on to understand. And also the Glare is on tonight. And he's going to have Nurse Kim and Jimmy on as well at 9 o'clock tonight. So all the best, guys. Take care of yourselves. From MazzaMedia, I am Mark. Take care now. Bye-bye then.